Hey everybody, welcome to a new video on Cam and Seb where we're going to play No Man's Sky with a real scientist. But first, I'm Cam.
Oh, hi, I'm Seb. But,
hi Seb.
Cam, what is this wedged between us?
I don't know. He wasn't here when I arrived.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
He just popped in here.
Who are you, this guy? Is your name Mr. Scientist? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's
my name's
Professor
Lewis.
Scientist.
Professor
Yes,
Scientist.
so Lewis Dartnell.
Okay, so Lewis Dartnell, we've invited him on our channel for this video because we want to get a real scientist's impression of No Man's Sky. We've got questions.
Yeah.
I mean, Seb have thought up. We got questions from you guys as well that have been sent to us.
It's important to mention that, Lewis, I think we're sort of catch-alling by just calling you scientist, but you are...
So maybe I should introduce myself.
Yeah, you
Go on then.
do a very specific type of science, don't you?
Yes, I am what's known as an astrobiologist. I'm an astrobiology researcher at the University of Westminster, and astrobiology was basically this on No Man's Sky. It's all
Wandering
about
around
the possibility
planets.
of life on other
That's
planets.
what you do, huh?
So we're not talking about kind of animals and plants just yet. We're mostly focused on bacteria, maybe surviving on the surface of Mars.
Is that
or
one?
the moon of Europa.
They're space daisies, I see there. So actually, Lewis, I'm going to make that's my first question to you. That when, in amongst all of your very, very difficult, very complex research, do you precede everything that you talk about with the word space? So
Mostly, so it's space pirates, space stations,
Yes.
space
Is it Space Canyon?
spaceships,
Yeah.
Space Canyon.
What is this then?
So
Planet
presumably what we're
Canyon?
looking at here is some kind of dry riverbed or canyon that's been kind of gouged out.
Yeah,
Because just there you can see the kind of arch that's nicely smoothed and eroded.
so we're on a
Yeah,
planet, the floating rock world, I believe.
yeah.
So perhaps not entirely accurate when it comes to planetary physics.
No.
There are a
but
couple.
what I've noticed is at night time it gets very chilly, and in the daytime it's a really balmy 19 degrees.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's
that's
lovely.
It's
positively
a good
comfortable.
place to
Yeah,
settle.
it's pretty
huh?
much London weather.
Yeah.
Doesn't look much like London. As a man of science, as someone who has actually worked in the field of astrobiology, considering life in our solar system and beyond in real life, I mean, what's it like to be able to visit a planet like this and wander around in a video game?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty exciting. And of course, we're nowhere near this kind of state with astrobiology. We're
I saw life. I saw life.
It was hopping away from us, a little kind of mini kangaroo. There we go, a little kangaroo type animal.
Come back, you!
Chase it down.
Kill it!
Eat
That's
it.
what you do,
So
right?
are you hoping that within our lifetime we're going to get, like bacteria, but maybe even hopping kangaroos, space kangaroos?
So within our lifetimes, and hopefully within my career as an astrobiologist, otherwise I've picked the wrong job, we're exploring Mars pretty extensively now. We're talking more and more about sending probes to Europa, which is one of the icy moons orbiting Jupiter. And we think there's a global ocean, a deep, dark, alien ocean beneath the frozen, icy surface of Europa. So we're exploring these alien worlds right now. And the hope is that perhaps these places could harbour primitive life, bacterial-like life. But if we look beyond our own solar system and out towards the galaxy as a whole, as you get to explore in No Man's Sky, then maybe there are more Earth-like worlds out there. So not kind of freeze-dry deserts like Mars is, or kind of frozen over ocean worlds like with Europa, but kind of rocky planets like this with an atmosphere you might be able to breathe, and with kind of hydrological cycle, kind of water cycle. So maybe the place where evolution's had the chance to get beyond, let's be honest, tiny, boring bacteria.
If you don't know No Man's Sky, this world, we're the very first people to see it,
Yeah.
which in itself, I still can't get over.
That's a spine-tingling
It's amazing.
thought, isn't
like, however many quintillion planets or whatever are in this game, we are the very first people to see this one. Probably no one else will ever actually look at this planet.
The thing is, maybe no one
obviously
cares.
you're watching.
No one cares because they've got their own planets.
Well, that's
the
true.
crushing
That's true.
realisation,
Well,
isn't
isn't
it?
that also kind of like real life? Maybe that's why. That's the Fermi
I suppose the universe is big.
That's
The
the
galaxy
Fermi
is quite
paradox
big.
explained right there.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is there like some sort of comparison between this, the fact that it's built, this is an algorithm, right? That is building, procedurally generating all this stuff that we're seeing. So is it possible that real life is just an algorithm? You know, like that is procedurally generated.
There are some theories, some hypotheses that maybe the universe we're living in is some kind of hyper-realistic computer simulation. And I guess it stands to reason that as soon as you get an alien race that can build very, very capable, very fast computers and simulate things in them. I mean, basically we're playing a simulation right now, as you're saying, that perhaps you wouldn't easily be able to tell the difference between the real world or a real universe and a simulation that you're playing in, which is, kind of similar to the philosophical issues that Descartes was wrestling with. So it stands to reason that once you get one civilization, one alien race that builds a computer simulation, you can build 100 of them, you can build 1,000, you can build 1 million. So maybe kind of looking at the probabilities, we're more likely to be living in a computer simulation than the only real universe that there might be. But maybe we'll start spotting glitches in this universe that we're living in. We'll spot things that aren't consistent or that seem to change when they shouldn't have done.
Imagine that. Imagine if we figure out how to do hyperdrive, light speed or faster than light speed technology, and we crash the simulation, and we all just end.
Or we're too boring in our simulation, and the alien race hits the restart button and just wipes us out.
Sick of this. They're too slow.
Hit the Big Bang again.
Yeah.
Let's build this algorithm again. And we left in Cypriot.
So in Cypriot Almy looks like quite a dry world, whereas the one in front of us up to the left is bluer. So maybe that's some kind of
shall we go check
ocean
that one
world.
out?
Let's go have a look and see. We've got a different biome,
it's actually,
a different ecosystem there.
It's further away from. There's the
sun, which is behind us,
which we can't travel to.
It should be the coolest of all the planets, I think. But let's go check it out. They're coming to shut me up from my nerdy science. Damn it!
Come on, space pirates.
Ah, God, I'm not very good. So so Lewis, are space pirates a real thing?
not as yet.
Have you discovered space pirates in your studies?
We've not seen any.
Assuming that we find bacterial life on Mars, but then we also go to Mars, are we actually like colonizing Mars, or are we stealing it?
So you could make the argument that if we do find life on Mars, even if it's really boring, simple microbial life, bacterial life, that perhaps we should treat Mars as some kind of nature reserve. We leave kind of Mars to the Martians, the natives. Because as soon as we start sending humans to Mars, particularly as soon as we start trying to colonize and terraform Mars to make Mars more Earth-like and pumping up a thicker atmosphere and trying to kind of melt the polar ice caps to get liquid water again, then we could start kind of crashing the ecosystem that's already there, killing off the native Martians. And maybe we don't have the right to do that. Maybe we should decide as a species to kind of leave Mars to them.
I mean, we won't do that.
We won't do that.
There's no way. We'll never do that.
There's no way we're going to do that.
If history's taught us anything, it's that
we see something we want, and we've got the bigger guns, and we go and take it. So what would be fascinating, and I'm speaking clearly here as a scientist, is if we do find life on Mars, we find these kind of bacteria perhaps living underground where it's more protected, we'll be able to perhaps discover them with a robotic probe, maybe with a drill, bring them back to the Earth and then study these Martians, these life forms, with all the laboratories around the world on Earth and get to know them, kind of look under the hood, under the bonnet of these Martians and see how they work, if they use DNA in the same way that we do, if they use proteins and cell membranes, or if they're really different, if Martian life is built in a fundamentally different way to us and they use different things, they don't use them. It's kind of Martian, it's kind of an alien in a really true sense of the word.
So I know what I'm doing is I'm completely degrading everything that you're, the brilliant stuff that you're saying, but we're probing them in exactly the same way that science fiction suggests that we ourselves would get probed
by the UFOs.
By UFOs.
Well, we're certainly sending probes to Mars.
Yeah,
you could put that spin on it. So
honestly,
this is an ocean world.
Yeah. This one actually looks,
and also this is quite forested.
Nice.
It's quite vegetated, isn't it?
I think we've just been conned by the colour of the ground.
Is that just maybe green mineral?
But that's a good point. We haven't found a forest world.
No,
yet.
they've been mostly quite barren and dry.
So here we go. So this is a viridescent planet.
Bountiful.
It's mild, tropical. Sorry, typical even. That's the Sentinels.
And bountiful with flora and
lots
fauna.
of life. This is great.
So we've got a scanner, haven't we? We could see. So this looks like some kind of mineral here.
So is this how you would do your job? Would you pull out a visor and scan, or how would you find life if say we could actually? Oh wow, that's this flying thing. Come back. Say we actually able to send you to Mars, Lewis. How would you go about searching for life there?
That's kind of oozing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's an oozing mineral.
I like that.
So at the moment we're exploring the solar system with our machines, with our robots that we're launching to Mars. The probe I'm working on is called ExoMars, that we launched in the year 2020. And what you basically do with the rover is give it a set of wheels, give it some solar panels so it can, generate electricity and recharge its batteries. Or the Curiosity rover uses kind of basically a radioisotope, uses radioactivity to power itself. And then we pack this Mars rover with all the kind of science experiments and equipment and instruments that we can fit onto it to do what we're kind of doing in this game, to scan things, to use things like lasers to interrogate the rocks we're looking at, to see what kind of minerals they're made out of.
I mean, could you do what I'm doing here? So to collect iron, I zap it with the laser. Like, is that... Like how,
so
I
don't quite know how that technology might work, that kind of sci-fi element of... It's almost like you're kind of blasting with your phaser and then kind of tractor beam pulling in the minerals you need. And we're not quite there with technology and science understanding right now. But we certainly do use lasers to investigate things scientifically, and this is what the Curiosity rover is doing. You find a rock on Mars, you zap it with a laser, it blasts off this kind of expanding cloud of hot gas, of plasma, which gives off some light, which you collect with your telescope and your rover, and then kind of analyze that light. You basically make a rainbow kind of spectrum of that.
I see.
And so you can see what that mineral was made of originally, whether it's iron oxides or magnesium or aluminium. I guess in the future, when we start prospecting asteroids and other planets for resources, for things we'd want to mine and use, we use similar technologies like that for seeing where the rich mineral seams are. So, this is a game. This is designed to be fun, and it's set in the future, and it uses a bit of real science with kind of science fiction ideas.
Yeah.
But there's some really good science behind what we're doing here.
I think the most important thing we haven't even done yet is naming discoveries. And we've got the opportunity to name the system we're in, name the planet we're on, name this spiny walking. It looks like a cat.
Yeah, is he aggressive?
No, he's actually. This is a herbivore, so I guess this must be defensive.
Mind you, I wouldn't want to get too close to a buck,
it's
which is
almost
also
like. So there we go. Temperament, ambulatory. What does that mean?
It's walking.
All right.
Thanks, Anna. That was helpful. I guess what's nice about No Man's Sky that all of the names for the flora and fauna for the kind of plants and the animals, they're always binomial. They're two names.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of traditional scientific way of naming things. So if you do what in real life what we're doing in this game, which is you're an explorer, an adventurer, you go out to an undiscovered island or into the depths of the Amazonian jungle or rainforest or whatever, and you find a new species, which we are still doing all the time. We haven't explored all of our own planet yet. The rules are you can't name a new species after yourself.
Oh, right.
But you can name it after other people. So Attenborough, for example, has had species named after him. So you can also name asteroids that astronomers discover.
Okay.
So we can't name it Lewis then?
We can't name it Lewis's
Lewis's creature. Can you give the naming?
Well, you can name it Lewis's creature because you discovered it. But if I discovered it myself, I wouldn't. You can't go ego tripping. Is what I'm saying.
The name can only be issued by the discoverer. You can't say, "Well, I found it, but why don't you name it?" And I have some ideas on this.
So I guess you go discovering in groups and then just have a pact to name them after each other.
Okay, so
if you were that egotistical and really cared about,
I'm not saying that I am, but we could call it Seb's spiny jump friend. There you go.
Done.
So there we go,
Seb's
and we get paid
friend.
for it. Do you get paid for naming things in science, Lewis?
No, you don't. So in the game, you get paid money. That's a good way of kind of building it resources, but
Seb's
not so much
friend.
in the real world.
Does he jump though? I mean,
I don't know. Hassle him.
Creep up behind him and shout boo, and see if you can startle him.
That is not a carnivore.
So they say it's a herbivore, don't they? But it's got big teeth.
Big carnivore teeth.
You need those giant incisors for tearing,
chewing up.
Oh yeah, I like him. I like his coat, purpley.
He's got some interesting.
What happens if we zap him with a laser?
Don't shoot him in the bum.
Oh god, he's angry. Oh god, he's no longer our friend, Seb.
You come, you find, you destroy.
Typical human.
I shot him with my shotgun.
Yeah.
So there's something interesting on the top right there, which kind of looks like toadstools. This is quite a terrestrial life form here.
So what we're seeing is basically the guys have said, well, mushrooms are a design, but we're just going to make them function in the same way as.
It could be convergent evolution. We see a lot of life on Earth that looks similar to each other, even though they've got different evolutionary paths. Because you've got the same challenges you need to solve by evolution, so you end up having the same designs coming out.
This sure looks like water, right?
I mean,
it
looks
looks like water, but it's minus 11.
It's minus 11.
And in fact, the temperature is dropping at quite a rate.
Yeah, it's because the sun is going
the
down.
The sun's setting.
Is it possible to get water at this?
So I mean, if this was ocean rather than fresh water, so it's got some salt in it, that would depress the freezing point. You could keep it liquid at lower temperatures.
But
you'd expect to see some
minus
kind of
12?
you'd expect some ice to be forming on the surface. So maybe we're assuming it's water. Maybe that's some other liquid. That might be liquid ammonia or something.
What are the little light bulb plants?
Oh yeah, we've got some kind of bioluminescence there.
Oh, we do.
Some kind of glow in the dark.
Interesting. So what's the?
Are they kind of pulsating as well?
Yeah, they're really cool. So bioluminescence, there's your bacteria right there, Lewis, in those nodules there. Interesting.
So we get a lot of kind of fluorescence and bioluminescence in Earth life as well. Things like squid can bioluminesce, but they've got little colonies of bacteria.
Cam's forgetting these run out of oxygen, so he's slowly dying.
Cam doesn't realise.
Yeah.
I was too busy admiring
it's
the plant
also
life.
warmer now. It's only -1 degree, rather than kind of 10.
Oh, it's warmer
So that's
under
interesting.
the
So
surface.
yeah,
it is.
the fluid, let's assume it's water, is kind of holding on to its heat
insulating.
and isn't cooling down as quickly as the air.
Is that a thing?
No, I mean that's perfectly true physics.
Okay, good.
I mean, and that's why Britain is warmer than Siberia, that's on a similar latitude, because we're surrounded by the oceans. We've got this thermal buffer of the oceans and sea around us.
So one of the questions we also got from our audience was asking if the time comes when the aliens do arrive,
Right.
in their spaceships, they're going to be super advanced. Are they going to look like us? Or are they going to be even vaguely similar to us?
Oh no, I mean that is a really interesting question, and we've been kind of touching on some elements of that as we're exploring these worlds and talking what seems to be similar to terrestrial life, what's very different. And there's some kind of general overreaching principles of evolution that you can start making some kind of predictions about what complex alien life, so kind of animals and plants rather than just bacteria, might look like. And there's some things which seem to be universals of evolution on Earth, that the kind of same things keep coming up time and time again, even from very different lineages. Things don't look the same because they've evolved from the same ancestor. They look the same because they've converged on the same solution.
Okay. Are we talking like legs?
So things like limbs for locomoting around might look similar. So things like legs are good for getting around on land. Things like fins and flippers are good for getting around through the sea. So something like a dolphin or whale, that's a mammal that used to be a land-based animal, closely related and still is closely related to us.
Yeah.
But they've evolved to look much more like kind of fish now. So they've evolved a similar solution to a similar problem. And actually the very easy way you can tell the difference between a whale and a fish, like a shark, is because of that evolutionary heritage. Whales flap their tails up and down because of the way their spine is built, whereas fish flap their tail from side to side.
Yeah.
So a really simple thing. Once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. So that's one of these examples of convergent evolution of whales and dolphins looking like fish, even from a different evolutionary background. And things like kind of lungs and hearts, which are good for absorbing oxygen out in the atmosphere and then pumping that around your body. You'd expect to find that in complex life. Something like our camera-like lens-based eye is evolved in kind of the vertebrate lineage. It's evolved independently in the cephalopods and things like kind of squid and cuttlefish, and a complete different evolutionary background. Whereas some things just seem to be completely random. If we find an intelligent alien, we wouldn't expect it to wave at us or give us a high five with 5 fingers, because that seems to be a random outcome of our human evolution. Maybe we'd communicate with aliens, obviously not in English, but building a basis of language using maths, which we'd expect to be universal.
Maybe you were telling me about this before, about there'll be no way to begin the structure of conversation without finding something that we'd both recognise.
You'd have to have common...
Yeah, and just go like...
Common points of contact, yeah.
We call this...
Spoon!
What do you call it?
Spoon! Spoon! But then I think you're threatening with a spoon.
Knifey, spoony.
Yeah.
But you could start with things which aliens you'd expect you might know about. So star, sun,
spoons,
for
example.
ocean, mountain. They would probably have these on their planet, and then maybe developing spoons for meta later.
Exactly. So, Lewis, I have a question for you. So right now we are cruising through space at an incredible speed. So, how fast can we actually travel in space at the moment with real technology?
So in the game we're using some kind of warp drive or other kind of sci-fi trick that allows us to go faster than you.
Well, that was actually let's have a look. That was engaging pulse engine. So the pulse engine currently runs on Thallium 9, which I don't believe is a real thing.
There you go.
Sorry, yeah, so...
but there's also plutonium used as a fuel in the game, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely.
Which, as we mentioned earlier, is really used as an energy source for space probes using current technology right now for exploring Mars or Jupiter or Saturn. But I say we don't really have things like warp drive. And spacecraft we are building, like the International Space Station, and the rockets that we supply and take the astronauts up there. And these things are going at thousands of miles an hour. So I guess what we're seeing right now with these kind of flecks of things streaming past us, you could argue this might be something like space dust, that now we're going very fast, it's kind of streaking past us.
It's just somehow not hitting us at all.
Exactly, so you'd expect that to be slamming into your windscreen at thousands of miles an hour, and even something tiny little fleck of dust, that'd have the energy of a sniper rifle. That should be coming straight through the windscreen and doing us a lot of damage, so as is a real hazard for things like the space station. So maybe we've got some kind of shield on this spaceship in the game. In the formation of the solar system and planets, they would have kind of clumped together and built up into boulders and rocks and asteroids asteroids and then eventually planets, and the stuff that gets left behind is kind of interplanetary dust and bigger lumps of rocks which we find in the asteroid belt. Although in this game, in No Man's Sky, the asteroids seem to be kind of dispersed throughout the system. There's no kind of belt of them. And there's quite a lot of asteroids as well. They would never be this close together in our real solar system.
It does make them very useful for mining.
Yes. Which again is something people are talking about very seriously in the near-term future. To mine things like platinum and other valuable metals from asteroids.
That's where we're getting greedy.
Bootstrap ourselves up through a space industry.
So, has space dust ever actually collided with something in space that we need or use?
Yeah, so when the space shuttle was coming back and on the space station, which is still up there, we do see damage from kind of orbital debris, and even something like a fleck of paint that can kind of come off an earlier rocket, going orbital speeds and slamming into it thousands of miles an hour. So I say got the energy of something like a sniper rifle, so the sniper rifle bullets. So these are the big issues, and you can study the kind of windscreen from the space shuttles and see these basically kind of mini craters, these tiny flecks of dust.
So
and something bigger could potentially be a mission threatening.
How do you protect against that then?
So the smaller stuff, you just have to think about ways of kind of shielding the space ship, the space shuttle, the space station, having very kind of thick windscreen so it doesn't punch all the way through. For bigger stuff, every now and then you'd have to change the orbit of the space station to move it out of the way, move it out of harm's way.
Yeah.
I've got colleagues at the University of Kent where they've got something called a light gas gun, which is just a way of firing little pellets, little projectiles at the kind of speed that things are moving around outer space, and then firing them into things like solar panels or aluminium sheets and see what damage it creates and what kind of craters are formed to try to understand how to protect spaceships. And in the longer term future, people are starting to talk about things which are essentially like the deflector shield for the Starship Enterprise and Star Trek, and start using very powerful electromagnets to try to deflect aside radiation, deflect aside the kind of plasma of outer space.
Cam's about to die here.
No, I'm doing all right. Oh, my shields are nearly dead. It's all right. We've got iron.
Perfect.
Lucky.
Yes,
bit of repair.
That great. So you're just building new chunks of iron on the side of your ship.
Pretty much.
As you're flying, you've got some kind of robotic arm maybe to help with that.
Just plating up your ship.
Die already.
Ironclad.
Yes.
You won the space fight.
I think he got hit by a piece of space dust.
Yeah.
It's all right. I collect his cargo there.
Yeah, just pillaged him.
Now, of course, there's in No Man's Sky, the kind of mission is to make it to the center of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Now, what's actually in the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way?
Oh, so the center of the Milky Way, there's, we think, a supermassive black hole. So you get black holes created when fat, massive stars explode at the end of the life. They go supernova, and it kind of crushes the dead core of that star into a black hole. And those would be kind of several solar masses, several times more massive than our sun. And in the center of our galaxy, we think there's a super massive black hole, so kind of tens of thousands of times more massive than our sun. And the reason we think that's there, we can't see it directly, firstly because it's black, it doesn't give off any light of its own. And it's actually hard to see in the very center of our galaxies because so many stars and space dust and nebula in the way. But right in the core, right in the direction towards the galactic center, we see this very bright X-ray source in the constellation of Cygnus in our skies. So what we think is happening is that black hole is pulling in with its own intense gravity, lots of surrounding gas and dust, which is kind of swirling in through the accretion disk around that black hole and heating up, and hot things give off light, and very hot things give off very energetic light, like X-rays. Okay. So we're basically seeing the kind of death throes of that matter being sucked up and pulled down into that black hole. And if you look towards other galaxies, where we can actually see into the galactic center, with our very powerful telescopes, you can actually see the stars kind of swirling around, something that is invisible, but has clearly got a very powerful gravitational tug.
Like
so we can see kind of indirect evidence of black holes.
Seeing things going down a plug hole.
Exactly, kind of swirling down before it kind of disappears down a black hole.
Gotcha.
And you can look these videos up on YouTube. They're incredible videos. These kind of stars swirling around over the course of kind of days and weeks.
I think it would look a little bit like this if you were able to travel at these speeds between the stars towards the center. Is it like a bright light?
Well, you see the kind of stars swirling past you. What you're not seeing, what the kind of physics they've not recreated in this game, is we're traveling so fast. We'd expect things that we're moving towards to be blue shifted through the Doppler effect, and if we could look behind us, we won't see
Everything
everything
would be
else be
red,
redshifted.
yeah.
And as we see with galaxies
blue now.
moving away from us. So a lot of the stars are blue because of their temperature, yeah. Also, I guess, and this is getting quite nerdy, but we're traveling so fast, we're traveling relativistic speeds.
Yeah.
Probably even faster than speed light. This is the impossibility of the game just to make it playable. You'd probably expect what you can actually see to kind of shrink into just a small circle in front of you because of the effects of relativity if you're traveling that fast. Relativity will make your head hurt.
It's already hurting, and we're just playing a video game.
Does the galaxy in the game, does it have the kind of structure of a spiral galaxy?
I
like
believe
our Milky
so.
Way does?
I believe
so. You can kind of move through the arms, then you go through the gaps in between.
You can't really zoom out to see.
Okay. But you can see these clouds of space gas, these nebula. So I mean, this is where new stars are being formed in these areas of our galaxy.
So what exactly is a nebula? Is it just loads of dust and things gathering that will pulled together?
It's just a big cloud of gas and tiny little particles of solid stuff. So kind of silicate minerals, which are basically dust particles. And then these kind of regions that would start collapsing under its own gravity and start forming clumps of dense gas and dust, which would then start forming into stars in the middle and planets orbiting around the outside. I mean, that's how our solar system was born. So it is quite nice. You can kind of see the horizon, and you get this kind of haze of the atmosphere, which we're now kind of entering, and the landscape's kind of appearing through the gloom.
We got some other folks coming in with us.
Oh yeah, so we do.
Flying in a neat little formation there.
Yeah.
Wonder what they're looking for. This just seems like a very rocky world without much life.
You see these kind of jagged crystals.
Are these trees?
minerals.
Oh, we've arrived in hell. Yes.
Oh, yes. Very
What a
good.
great place to finish.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, well, I safely landed on what appears to be hell.
Yes.
And this is a great place to leave it.
I believe
and say,
that's the Hell Cave over there.
yeah, the Hell
Yes.
Cave and some hell ferns as well. So it's a wonderful place.
Yes.
So we'll just leave you here on hell, Lewis.
Yeah. You're on your own now, Lewis. We're off.
This is our thanks to you. We'll drop you here. No, thank you very much for taking our questions.
No, thank you for having me. It's
And
been a
those
lot
of
fun.
the audience as well.
Yes.
I hope I didn't ask too many dumb questions.
No, you did very well.
No
Seb.
such thing as
No
that.
such-
There is totally
Well,
such
there
thing
is
as
totally.
There
That's-
is, there really
that
is.
in itself is a dumb statement.
Yeah.
But there's going to be more because we're also going to do another video all about the science, speaking of dumb stuff, the science that No Man's Sky gets wrong. But don't worry, we're not going to be like nitpicking the game. It's fine. It's
Like
a video game.
Interesting things.
Yeah,
that,
but
that it highlights.
there are interesting things to be said from looking at the things that the game does incorrectly according to science. So
Yeah.
come back for that video. Cheers, Seb. Thanks, Lewis.
Cheers,
We'll
guys.
See you back for more videos very soon.